Greetings, everybody. Michael here. I hope everybody's having a pleasant now, whenever, wherever, and however you may be. So, I want to talk today about knowing and being. So, we have been gifted with this experience called life. And we have all sorts of different events that occur through which we navigate the best that we can. A lot of what we do is based on what we think we know. When people claim to know something, they more often than not think they know exactly how it works. The only thing that we can know for absolute certainty is how we feel right now. So, what does that mean? Well, we can claim to, for example, know how the brain works, how we gather information through our senses, and how we use that information. So we have all these different sciences. We have physics, we have chemistry, we have biology, we have astronomy. So we've had people figure out how to measure various forms of frequencies to analyze how systems work. So, what we do with that data is we explain it in terms of numbers and words. So all that we're really doing is we're quantizing. We've figured out how to measure something, and then what we do is we use that information to solve problems as they arise. So measurement is going to consist of two things: time and space. And really what it's measuring is motion. So we have everything moving, everything is oscillating. So there is an infinite amount of motions occurring all at the same time. So we have these particles that are moving back and forth, basically on and off, and within that space, then there's spiral motions, and then there's up and down motions, and then more spiraling, and so on and so forth. So as we figure out how to better measure and observe these motions, then we can analyze these systems and use that information to predict how something will react. So everything is cause and effect. Everything is action and reaction. And the better we get at measuring these different things, the more that we think we know. So, all of the different sciences over time are revamped as we get a better understanding of whatever it is that we're measuring. So, analysis is really the measurement of motion, because everything is energy and everything is oscillating at a different frequency. So if everything is energy, that would include consciousness. We have not yet been able to measure consciousness. So what do we know about it? We know enough that we can talk about it. But really, all that we ever can know about anything, whether it be consciousness, the existence of God, or any aspect of the universe, is how we feel about it. So when we feel peaceful about something, our natural state of being is peacefulness. That's when we can accept it as truth, even when we don't know for 100% that it is exactly the way it appears to be. So, when we say that we know something, are we fooling ourselves? Possibly. The beautiful thing about feelings is that feelings don't lie. Now, when we judge those feelings and we place them in a box, we say that, ooh, something doesn't feel good, it feels bad, then you are going to start building a barrier that is disallowing for that information to come in. You're not going to embrace the experience. You're going to be fearful of it. Why? Because you don't know how you're going to feel when you experience it. You assume that you will feel a certain way because of how the initial feeling is being experienced or perceived. So I like to start with acknowledging the power of God, which is love. Everything is done with the intention of loving you. We are not being punished. We are not needing to be afraid. We do not need to suffer. We can learn to simply be. So when we get confused, we're overthinking. When we're angry and frustrated with a thing or another person, we're really angry with ourselves because we think we're supposed to know everything. We forget that that is unnecessary. So faith is acceptance of the truth that God loves you unconditionally and has great things in store for you. And people will say, well, how can God be a loving God when there's all the pain and suffering? Well, free will. Free will dictates that we are in charge of how we perceive reality. We're given the gift of life, and life in and of itself is a miracle. So when people ask for proof of the existence of God, the fact that we're talking about it isn't proof enough. Being conscious, whatever that means to you, isn't enough. So the challenge is to learn how to be more faithful, less and less afraid. And we do that by accepting the information. All of the different forms of energy that we experience through our lives. Everything that we see, everything that we hear, everything that we smell, everything that we taste, and everything that we touch is all meant for us to grow. We are energy transmuters. Our bodies are transducers, really. We get in energy, we modulate it, and we give it back out. When we connect with other beings with our hearts, that would be a very effective way to make a connection. Because it doesn't matter what your IQ level is. It doesn't matter how you process information, whether you're logical or intuitive. It doesn't matter, because when you make that connection, you know how it feels. But then things get in the way, we have experiences, we go through these trials and tribulations, which are really tests. They're tests of faith. So when we judge these experiences harshly and we say, oh, well, that was painful. Why did I go through that? You went through it because you were meant to. And once you learn how to be at peace with that experience and acknowledge that it was just an experience, and you realize that the only moment that matters is the present moment, right now. And then you remember, anytime you have a feeling that is other than peaceful, it's a friendly reminder for you to become present. So, how do I know this approach works? Because of how I feel right now. So, instead of looking at your choices as being good or bad, or righteous and evil, or even godly or satanic. As you become more aware, what will happen is you will begin to feel that connection with God. You will begin to understand why you're here. So, this is what we know. How do you feel right now? If you're present and you're just simply being, you feel peaceful. If you're reliving the past, judging it harshly with shame or guilt or remorse, you're going to feel those things. You will know how those things feel if that's how you perceive them. If you live in fear of the future with it, really any level of doubt or worry, that is how you will feel, because that is the thought form that you're holding in your mind. So just use those other than peaceful feelings to remember to become present, no matter what. Free will means that you always have a choice to be aware of the presence of God. When you become more aware, you will make choices that will help you become more aware. You will be more compassionate. You will be more kind. You will be more loving. You'll be less fearful, less judgmental. It's okay to ask questions and analyze, because we're curious beings. We want to know more. That's okay. But judge how your quest makes you feel. It's okay to change your mind. You could have an idea that, oh, you're supposed to learn X, Y, and Z, and then go down that path, gather information, process it, and use it to continue on another leg of the journey. But when you get to a point to where you're like, I don't know, this doesn't feel right, use your intuition to alter your course. Changing your mind is altering your consciousness, and that's okay. So give yourself a break, give yourself a high five, pat on the back, become present, feel God's love, and enjoy the ride. All right, people, I love you. Be well.